Look, I am incredibly encouraged to be here. There is such cynicism today about politics. I get my friends even, these are, again, people that are close to me, sending me text messages. Hey, Cory, you know the derivation of the word politics? And I say, no. My friend texts back to me, well, it comes from the Greek word poly, meaning many, and ticks, meaning blood-sucking vermin. I look at what's going on in Washington, D.C. I look at what's going on around our country right now, the viciousness, the partisanship, the least productive period we've seen in Washington. Our champion, Congressman Andrews, was leaning over telling me a lot about what's going on right now in our nation with the battles coming up. But the reality is politics is important because it's not about politics and it's not about elections. It's really about what I'm standing in front of right now. It's the idea of what it means to be an American. I stand here right now because folks, in some ways irrationally, fought for, even when it wasn't in their immediate self-interest, even though it put them in danger, even though it put their families in peril, they stood up and fought for American ideals. Not simply labor ideals, American ideals. That if you're born in this country, no matter if you're an Irish immigrant, whether you're a first generation from Asia, whether you're the grandson of a slave, that in this country, who you are is what is important. The content of your character, not the color of your skin, the quality of your ideas, not your race or gender. And it is this movement in America that opened up ideas. My grandfather worked in fields. And then as part of what's called the Black Northern Migration, 1920s and 30s, moved up to Detroit. He entered American middle class by working on an assembly line, joining a union, getting a solid job, a solid paycheck, serving his country on the Willow Run bomber plant, building the planes that secured democracy for this globe. This is the story of my family. And what my grandfather never let me forget is the values that I enjoy. He was a labor organizer, came from people in the labor movement who said, I don't care if you're black, if you're white, this country has to be about something. It's this movement that took us from sweatshops to workers' rights. It took us from child labor to universal public education. And even as we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, what people forget is the primary thrust of that march actually wasn't about race issues, principally. It was about economic issues. The first person that conceived of this idea was named A. Philip Randolph, who was a union leader. And so, please understand, this is not politics. This is America. And you look around this country, and all of us must be thinking that our nation is some people in our nation want to imitate Michael Jackson and do the moonwalk and go back. Under the guise of going forward, go back to a place we don't want to go. You all see this now. They're rolling back civil rights, they're rolling back voting rights, they're rolling back women's rights, and yes, they're rolling back labor rights. We see it in the right to work movement that's going on. You see it with challenges. I see people coming to me and talking about trying to invalidate Davis-Bacon, some of the fundamental things that equality in this country has been built on. Look at what's happening. The trends are clear. This is the first time in America, after all of us were born to parents that said, this generation, every generation in America, it's a simple American ideal, should do better than the one before. Well, guess what's happening? This generation is not. Economic growth is going on in America. We're pulling ourselves out of this ditch. Our GDP is expanding, but what's happening to wages in our country? They're stagnating and declining. We saw a horrible Great Recession come in and destroy jobs. They're being replaced, but they're being replaced by minimum wage jobs, and we know what minimum wage is. Minimum wage isn't the same as it was in 1968 when they marched on Washington. In real dollars, minimum wage has declined dramatically. We live in a country right now that you could work full-time and overtime and still be below the poverty line. So I feel great. I am standing here. It's my first time here. My first time here. You probably got had 20, 30 of these breakfasts. Back in the day, you were telling me that if I went over my time like I'm doing right now, they would have got up and taken the mic away from me. That's why I brought my bodyguards. I got a couple newer cops ready to jump in. Should Norcross over here try to take this mic from me. But this is the point I want to make. I am grateful for the leaders in this room, all you have been doing, the fights, the battles. In this last primary, when people said it was dead of August, folks wouldn't turn out. We set a record turnout. More than the last presidential, going back to the 1990s. It's the last time that we had this kind of turnout in the primary. That was not done by me, it was done by you, it was done by us. So I stand here with a part of a tradition that I am grateful for, but dear God, we have work to do. When there are people in my city of Newark right now, working hard, but not being able to make ends meet, finding themselves with more month at the end of their money than money at the end of their month. We've got work to do. When in Washington, D.C., there are folks right now scheming to roll back workers' rights. We've got work to do. When the idea of the American dream is in peril, we have work to do. And with this spirit of commitment, the spirit that has got us a mighty long way, I know in my heart that together, if we wake up the echoes, if we call to the consciousness of our greater community, if we make this not about left-right partisan politics, but about the dignity of America, about what it means to be a citizen, then I am confident that we will move forward. I am confident we'll make true the words of our ancestors, that this can be a nation where everybody can find life, liberty, and happiness, that we can make true the words of our children. Many of the young people we saw today, from South Jersey to North Jersey, urban to suburban, who say those 5 words. We can indeed be a country with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.